Hello students, in this video we continue studying history, chapter number 9, traders, kings and pilgrims. Now let us start with the story of the Silk Route. The rich, glossy colors of silk as well as its smooth texture make it a highly valued fabric in most societies. Making silk is a complicated process. You all would have heard about silk. Silk clothes. So basically, silk is very smooth and it is very rich and fine in quality. So that is why it is very valuable. It has a lot of value in most of the societies. Now, the thing is, making silk is not an easy process. It's very difficult, very complicated. Raw silk has to be extracted from the cocoons of the silkworm. So basically, it is made from the silkworm, spun into thread and then woven into cloth. Techniques of making silk were first invented in China. So basically, it was in China where silk was made for the first time around 7,000 years ago. While the methods remained a closely guarded secret for thousands of years, some people from China who went to distant lands on foot, horseback, or on camels carried silk with them. The paths they followed came to be known as Silk Route. So there were people who used to travel for trading activity, for selling silk, and the route they took or the route on which they traveled was called the Silk Route. So basically, Silk Route starts from China. Sometimes Chinese rulers sent gifts of silk to rulers in Iran and West Asia, and from there, the knowledge of silk spread further west. About 2000 years ago, wearing silk became a fashion among rulers and rich people in Rome, and Rome is in today's Europe. So imagine these people used to travel all the way from China to Europe, and the route was completely land route. They used to travel on foot or on horses or on camels. Now, the thing is, the silk, as we have already talked, the silk is very good in quality. It's very smooth, and the clothes or the fabric made up of silk was became very famous because of its texture, because of the shine, because of the quality. It's very soft also. It was very expensive as it has to be brought all the way from China along dangerous roads through mountains and deserts. People living along the route often demanded payments for allowing traders to pass through. So basically, why? Because it had to be taken, it had to be brought from China. That is why it was very expensive also. Now, since the Silk Route was so important, some kings tried to control large portions of this route. This was because they could benefit from the taxes. Because, see, how are the taxes imposed? For example, a trader is coming from China, entered your kingdom. So you can demand him tax. You can say that if you want to enter my kingdom, you'll have to give me this much amount of tax. So taxes were imposed on these traders who came all the way from China. Benefit from taxes, tributes, and gifts that were brought by traders traveling along the route. In return, they often protected the traders who passed through their kingdoms by attacks by the robbers. So during those times, there were a lot of dacoits, robbers, and so these rulers or kings they provided protection. They said that we'll send a few soldiers with you if you give us gift or the taxes which we demand from you. Now, the best known of the rulers who controlled the Silk Route were the Kushanas. Kushans, who ruled over Central Asia, Northwest India around 2000 years ago. Their two major centers of power were Peshawar and Mathura. Peshawar is in today's Pakistan, and Mathura, we all know, is in Uttar Pradesh. Now, Takshashila was also included in their kingdom. During their rule, a branch of the Silk Route extended from Central Asia down to the seaports at the mouth of the river Indus, from where silk was shipped westwards to the Roman Empire. So basically, it was from here with the help of river Indus. Indus because Indus opens, flows down to Arabian Sea. So with the help of river Indus, the silk was then brought to the ships which were standing in Arabian Sea, and these ships used to sail towards Rome, which is in today's Europe. Now, the Kushans were almost the earliest rulers of the subcontinent to issue gold coins. So, basically, gold coins. The first rulers in India who issued gold coins were the Kushans. These were used by the traders along the Silk Route. Apart from trading silk on foot or land, silk also traveled or was also traded with the help of sea or by ships, and these ships sometimes used to travel directly from China. But since it was a very complicated route, so basically these travelers first brought silk to India, and from India the Kushans, who were the very important rulers during this time, they used to help to export this silk to the Roman emperors. Okay, now let us move on to the next topic, that is the spread of Buddhism. In the previous chapters, we talked about Buddhism. We talked about the ideology of Buddhism. We talked about Ashoka, who was so much influenced and inspired by the beliefs of Buddha. Let us see how Buddhism spread all over the world. Buddhism was born in India, but it spread all over the world. Let us see how. Now, the most famous Kushana ruler was Kanishka. Please remember the name. Kushanas were the important rulers during this time, and these were the first rulers who issued gold coins in India. And their most famous ruler was Kanishka, who ruled around 1900 years ago. He organized a Buddhist council where council means kind of a meeting where scholars met and discussed important matters. Ashwagosha, very important person, a poet who composed a biography of the Buddha called Buddha Charita. Buddha Charita was the biography of Buddha. Biography means a book which talks about the story of a person. So, he wrote about Buddha's life in his book called Buddha Charita. And who wrote this? Ashwagosha. He lived in the court of Kanishka. Ashwagosha and other Buddhist scholars now began writing in Sanskrit. We studied how Buddhism became very famous because they used to write and teach in the language of the common people, which was Pali and Prakrit. But now they started writing in Sanskrit also. A new form of Buddhism known as Mahayana Buddhism developed. This had two distinct features. Earlier, the Buddha's presence was shown in sculpture by using certain signs. For example, his attainment of enlightenment was shown by sculptures of the peepal tree. For example, here you can see this is a sculpture. Sculpture basically means carvings on a stone. So, this is basically this sculpture shows the enlightenment How do we find about how do we recognize this, that it talks about enlightenment? Because we can see here, this is the tree, people tree, and we have already studied the Buddha attained enlightenment under a tree. So wherever tree is shown, basically refers to enlightenment of Buddha. So now statues of the Buddha were made. Many of these were made in Mathura. So basically now a lot of statues of Buddha started making statues of Buddha. And who were these people? These people belong to Mahayana Buddhism, while others were made in Takshila. So basically these statues are made in Mathura and Takshila. The second change was a belief in Bodhisattva. Please remember, Bodhisattva. Who were Bodhisattvas? These were supposed to be the persons who had attained enlightenment. Now, these were the people who were said to have attained enlightenment after a lot of hard work. They attained enlightenment. Once they attained enlightenment, they could live in complete isolation and meditate in peace. So they were just like Buddha. They were the followers of Buddha who followed his path. उनने क्या किया? उन्हीं के रास्ते पे चल के उन्हीं की तरह तपस्या करी, ठीक है, और उनको enlightenment मिला. However, instead of doing that, they remained in the world to teach and help other people. So basically, they taught and helped other people. The worship of bodhisattvas became very popular and spread throughout the Central Asia, China, later to Korea and Japan. So now bodhisattvas were also, apart from Buddha, people started worshipping bodhisattva also. Bodhisattvas were the people, they were important people who had attained enlightenment. So they started worshipping them also. Buddhism also spread to western and southern India, where dozens of caves were hollowed out for hills for the monks to live in. So now Buddhism also spread to South India and Western India. Some of these caves were made on the orders of kings and queens, others by merchants and farmers. These were often located near passes through the Western Ghats, roads connecting prosperous ports on coast with cities in Deccan ran through these passes. Traders probably halted in these cave monasteries during their travels. Now, as you can see in this picture, this is a picture of a cave. This type of caves were made where the monks used to live. Buddhism also spread towards eastwards to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, and other parts of Southeast Asia, including Indonesia. So now Buddhism started spreading to so many places. The older form of Buddhism, known as Theravada Buddhism, was popular in these areas. So basically, in these countries, in this paragraph, the older form of Buddhism was famous, while in these countries, for example, Central Asia, China, Korea, Japan, the Mahayana Buddhism was important, or it became famous. Now you can see these were the images of Buddha, statues of Buddha which were made. Below, this one is the image of Buddha from Mathura. This is the image from Takshila. These two were different. So with this, we understand that with time, the teachings of Buddha spread from one place to another, and how Buddhism also changed with the passage of time.